Tamara.
Hello, Stephanie. Nice to see you.
Yes, I'm so glad you have time for a little discussion about your work. Tamara, you have been developing some really nice work together with your sister Connie Ray, and it's like really famous worldwide, as I know. And it's I'm talking about core transformation work. And nowadays you're like one of the most experienced trainers. What do you personally use core transformation for, and what can it be used in general?
Hey, yeah, good question. So in my work with clients, actually core transformation is the method I use the very most.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the three methods that I use the most as well. Along with wholeness work and metaphors of movement, I also use quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and what I like about it is actually that it can be used for so many things. Almost any kind of problem that a person has, any behavior or pattern of thinking or response that they want to
Mm-hmm.
change, we can use core transformation for, and it's effective for a very wide range.
Oh, great.
Um,
Is it also
yeah,
something you can do on your own?
Oh yeah, I have used it on myself quite a lot, and other people. I really encourage my clients to use it on their own, and of course, some people want to and some don't.
Mm-hmm.
But if they do, then that just it really speeds things along. Then we can make a lot more progress. And I recently, for example, used it with a client who had some anxiety, and the anxiety changed in one session with this particular client. Now, it doesn't always change that fast. Some experience of anxiety can be more complex and some more simple, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's not uncommon at all to be experiencing significant shifts after just a single session.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that sounds really impressive. Um, what are the elements and the principles of core transformation, and how does it work?
Okay, sure. So with core transformation, we work with the unconscious mind,
Mm-hmm.
and we could say that's the aspect of our mind that produces behaviors, feelings, and patterns of thinking automatically. So, like if consciously, for example, I want to be calm and collected in a certain situation, and yet what actually happens automatically is that I'm feeling nervous, for example, then that is coming from the unconscious mind because it's happening
Mm-hmm.
automatically. It's not what I'm consciously choosing. And so it works with the unconscious. It works with unconscious parts. So we could say that if um, if I want to be, for example, I worked recently with somebody with eating. So if I want to be eating in a certain healthy way, and yet I find myself eating too much of unhealthy foods,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's not all of me that's creating that behavior. It's a part of me that's creating that behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of me wants to be doing something else, wants to be eating healthy.
Yeah.
So so with this process, we work with that unconscious part that's creating the behavior that we want to change.
Mm-hmm.
And so so that's a couple of concepts. Then another concept too is a principle that's been in the field of NLP for a long time, which is that behind every behavior, thought, and feeling is a positive purpose.
Mm-hmm.
A positive, we could say, intended purpose. So these parts that are doing things that we don't like, parts that are making us angry or giving us a feeling of helplessness or whatever it might be that we don't like, every one of these parts is trying to accomplish something very positive for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's an important principle as well that we utilize with this.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. Um, one really central element or important element of core transformation is the core state, right?
Mhm.
And could you explain what that is and why is it helpful to have it or to find it?
Yeah, sure. So when we are working with a part of us, so for example, let's say if I want to be expressing my feelings more freely, but something stops me. So let's say I'm working with this part of me that stops me from expressing my feelings.
Mhm,
So we find out through communicating with this part, we find out the positive purpose of the part. And then through the experience of this, we go to deeper and deeper level purposes until we get all the way to what we could call a core state, something that's at a beingness level
mhm,
that is beyond having or doing or interacting with others in the world. It's
mhm,
some words that tend to come out for the core state are, for example, a sense of oneness or like a profound sense of peace or love,
mhm,
not loving and being loved, but just a love that just is, or a sense of my own essence or energy. These are the words that can be used to describe it, but in a certain sense it's, we could say it's beyond words. You
mhm,
know, it's a felt experience of these profound states of well-being.
mhm,
And so this then becomes a powerful resource in transforming whatever behavior, whatever kind of feeling or pattern of thinking I was starting with.
mhm,
Um, and this is, yes, what's unique, something unique and special about core transformation, because in addition to making changes in my experience that I have at the surface level, the behaviors, feelings, thinking, in
mhm,
addition to making changes at the surface level, we also actually have changes at the deepest level of our being and have, especially as we use the process repeatedly through time, more and more sense of inner well-being and wholeness and peace that that's like uh, the other benefit, or you know, for some of us maybe that's the main benefit
mhm.
that we get from core transformation, in addition to changing how we feel or think or act.
Yeah, I have experienced core transformation myself, and I had a really deep feeling of this core state, and uh, somehow I can connect to it now and get it for some kind of yeah, calmness or whatever I need.
Mhm.
When I'm listening to you, I already feel like it to it
Yeah.
while you
Well,
talk.
that's the thing, is that as we work with core transformation through time, the
Mhm,
core state experience just becomes part of our ongoing experience. And
mhm,
maybe, you know, maybe sometimes we can forget or get caught up in something that takes us out of it,
mhm,
but it becomes easier and easier to get back to it and for it to just be there automatically, even without trying.
mhm,
And that often actually allows people to change things that they didn't even work on. I have had numerous times people from seminars or clients telling me that, well, you know, for example, one person said that um, before doing the core transformation seminar, she what really was trying to become neater with her apartment and put things away and, you know, be organized, and she was
mhm,
buying books on how to organize your apartment and all this stuff,
mhm,
but she was never able to actually get herself to do it.
mhm,
And so after the core transformation seminar, then she said that she never worked on that, and yet she found that it started becoming easy to put things away and become more organized. And I can actually vouch for this, that it did happen, because she was my roommate at the time. So
So you
so
saw
yeah, and
it.
that's there are, you know, many examples of this.
Mhm, mhm. This sounds like everything gets more natural and not so much like pushing yourself to do something, but it happens naturally somehow. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's, I think probably all of us have tried at some point in our lives maybe more often than we'd like, the change through inner struggle method. You know, if
Yeah.
I just struggle with myself hard enough, maybe I can make myself to do things the way I want, you know. And the problem with that method is, even if it works, and sometimes, yes, we can get ourselves to do things that we don't really want to do, you know, we don't really feel on the inside like we want to do. But the problem is, then that's just not very pleasant, and it takes a lot of effort, you know, and it really, it can be quite stressful. Actually, it can cause stress, and that's not good for the body and all of that. So it's much better, I think, in my experience, to instead achieve a sense of wholeness and well-being, such that the behaviors that are good for us, that we know will benefit us, just naturally can happen, you know, easily, rather than having to force ourselves to do those things all the time.
Yeah, great. So I have experienced that you're really creative in Colorado at the moment, or in the last years again. Connie Ray has introduced here in Germany her new work for the last years, wholeness work.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you also do trainings on this in Asia, as I heard. And I would like to ask, how is core transformation and wholeness work connected, or how is it different? Can you say that?
Yeah, they're both. It's both, actually. So
Okay.
they are very, very complementary, and they both work at very, very deep levels.
Hmm.
And so, however, they work in different ways. And my own experience using these methods with clients is that I feel it's more than twice as good to have access to both than just to have one or the other.
Hmm.
Um, so when I learned wholeness work, that actually made me more motivated to and excited about using core transformation with clients as well. Um, and because it's like it's a more complete full package, we could say.
Hmm.
Um, so how are they different? In general, well, a person can start with either one. Either one
Hmm.
can be an entry point. However, I find that for most clients, it's easier to start with core transformation,
Hmm.
especially clients who don't already have a background in, for example, meditation or other kinds of experiences in which a a state that is somewhat quiet can also be very powerful and effective.
Hmm.
So, so
Hmm.
anyway, most people do, at least initially, relate more easily to core transformation, and and that is often a starting point.
Hmm.
Um, Also, core transformation, a strength of this is that it can be very appropriate to use with people dealing with, for example, childhood abuse, those
Hmm.
kinds of issues that can tap into very strong negative feelings.
Hmm.
Um, it's much easier to use core transformation with these kinds of issues, especially at first.
Hmm.
Um, then with wholeness work, though, um, it's so efficient once you learn it. It's
Hmm.
possible to transform something so quickly and easily. And so I use that a lot now with my own work with myself,
Hmm.
just because of that. Um, However, and also it's really especially great for sleep. Wholeness work is just a natural fit for anybody that wants to improve their sleep.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, and I use wholeness work now even for very subtle things that I would never have taken the time to do core transformation with,
Hmm.
but I can do wholeness work with because it's just so quick.
Hmm.
um However, there are some things, though, that I start out doing wholeness work with, and then I go, actually, I really want to do core transformation with
Hmm.
this, because for whatever reason, that's what my system wants. And so because I have both options, then, I can choose what's best
Hmm.
for my system at that particular moment.
Hmm.
And yeah, and certain clients relate more easily to one or the other.
Yeah.
There are some clients just really love core transformation, and they've tried wholeness work, and they just, for whatever reason, they don't relate to it well. And
Mhm.
then some people really prefer wholeness work. So having
Mhm.
both then allows me to really meet the client with what's the best fit for them. And again, for most clients, it's useful to use them both at different times.
Mhm. Mhm. Maybe it's good to use one method like core transformation until you feel ready is maybe not the right word, but my experience is that you have different phases, like where maybe you get a deeper level then or something like this.
Yeah, I think so. I like to use, in general, I use core transformation with a client until that goes smoothly.
Mhm.
And then I start to introduce wholeness work to them, and little by little, like I have a little time at the end of the session. So I say, hey,
Mhm.
how about if we just explore this a little bit?
Mhm.
And then once they've learned the concepts, then we can explore a little bit more, and until they get to a point where they can use that. Then we have real choice on what we use.
Yeah.
And it doesn't generally take very long, a little bit of experience, and then
Mhm.
you can start to use that too. Then sometimes I might start with an issue of core transformation, and then if at the end there's this little piece that's kind of related, but it's not a big deal, we have a little more time, so we'll use that to wrap up that little piece,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know and vice versa. Sometimes we start with wholeness work and we get to something where that for whatever reason they want to use core transformation. It's a
Yeah.
better fit for them. So yeah, I love having access to both, and
Mhm.
it's really fun to work with clients who already have experience with both as well,
Mhm.
because of that flexibility. um,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, I don't want to give the impression that you have to have both either, though. For a long time, we just had core transformation, and it is a excellent standalone methodology as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
And likewise, some people, use wholeness work as a standalone methodology. It's just that it does really enhance the options to have both
Mhm.
too.
Mhm.